Hey everybody, Jim here with another video for you. This is the 11th in my series of actor spotlight videos, and this time I am ranking the movies of Leonardo DiCaprio that I have in my collection. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Now, Leonardo DiCaprio is a 50-year-old, as we film this, of course, he'll be 51 later on this year, but a 50-year-old megastar who, quite honestly, I was not a huge fan of years ago, but as his career has gone on, I am finding myself to become more and more of a fan. I mean, he started off as a child actor on TV, on shows like Growing Pains, and in low-budget movies like Critters 3 back in the day. And then in the 90s, he kind of became a heartthrob due to movies like Romeo and Juliet, The Basketball Diaries, and of course, Titanic, which sent him into the stratosphere. And again, I wasn't necessarily a fan of him at that time. I thought he was just one of these pretty boy actors. But like I said, I was wrong. The older he gets, the more I appreciate his skills as an actor, not to mention he has aligned himself with some incredible filmmakers to collaborate with. So I've got 13 titles starring or featuring DiCaprio. We're just going to jump right in. We're going to start from number 13, work our way down to number 1. And I want to issue the following caveats. These rankings are based strictly on my own personal taste. They have absolutely nothing to do with quality of film. And out of these 13 titles, I actually like them all. There's not a bad movie in the bunch. But the two at the bottom of the list, the only reason why they're so low is because, quite honestly, I don't watch them very often and because of their run times. But let's go ahead and begin. The first on our list, number 13, from my 10 Best Picture Academy Award collection, we're speaking, of course, of Titanic, directed by James Cameron and co-starring Kate Winslet. This movie was a phenomenon. It was the biggest, most successful movie ever until Avatar took its crown, another James Cameron movie. That's all that guy does anymore is Avatar, and I'm sick of Avatar. But this movie, like I said, it was a huge, huge phenomenon, and it definitely catapulted DiCaprio from being a up-and-coming actor into a bona fide superstar. Technically, it's a great movie. It's just too damn long. I'm sorry. It takes 2 hours before anything gets going with this, and I could care less about the romantic subplots, and I could care less about everything else going on. Once they hit the iceberg, okay, now you got a movie. And like I said, on a technical level, Titanic's great, but I saw this theatrically. This is part of this box set. I have not watched it since I got it. I have seen this movie more than once, but I don't see myself watching it again anytime soon. And again, that is not a knock on Titanic. It's just personal tastes. So number 13 is Titanic. By an edge, by a hair, number 12 is Gangs of New York, directed by Martin Scorsese and co-starring Daniel Day-Lewis, Cameron Diaz, Henry Thomas, Liam Neeson, John C. Reilly. Great supporting cast in this movie, outside of Cameron Diaz. I really like Cameron Diaz. She's horrible in this movie. DiCaprio is not that great in this movie either. Okay, this is the Daniel Day-Lewis show for the most part. I've got some serious problems with this movie. The pacing is kind of up and down. Like I said, the performances are kind of, off kilter. But it's a Scorsese film, and there are moments in this movie that I absolutely adore. But again, it's one of those movies that, quite simply, I don't go back to quite often, and it's definitely one of Scorsese's lesser works. Number 12, Gangs of New York. Number 11, from another Scorsese pack, we're talking about The Aviator. Again, co-starring an incredible cast, including Cate Blanchett as Katharine Hepburn. She's phenomenal in this movie. John C. Reilly's in this movie again. This is the story of Howard Hughes. And DiCaprio puts in a great performance in this movie. And I really enjoy this movie. Again, it's not one that I go back to often, okay? But I don't have problems with it like I do with Gangs of New York. This is a much more cohesive film, and it's a much more interesting film, in my opinion. And like I said, DiCaprio, this to me is when DiCaprio starts to shine as an actor for the most part. I mean, yeah, Aviator, solid film. Okay, we are at the top 10. From this multi-pack, with 4 different action movies on it, we are going with Blood Diamond, directed by Edward Zwick, and co-starring Jennifer Connelly and Djimon Hounsou. This is about the diamond trade down in Africa, and it's a great movie. The weakest thing about this movie, believe it or not, is DiCaprio's South African accent. It doesn't really work. But other than that, this is a solid, brutal film. Very violent. And again, really entertaining film. Hounsou is definitely the standout here. He's phenomenal in this movie. So if you've never seen this movie, check it out. So number 10, Edward Zwick's Blood Diamond. Number 9, from writer-director Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Co-starring Margot Robbie, and in his Academy Award-winning performance for Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt. This is the latest collaboration between Tarantino and DiCaprio, and Brad Pitt for that matter. They've worked with him in the past, and this is the last movie that Tarantino has made at the time of this filming. Supposedly he only has one film left. I really enjoy this film. I think DiCaprio is great in this movie. He really is. Him and Brad Pitt, they've got great chemistry together, and DiCaprio does some things in this movie that, quite honestly, I've never seen him do. There's one scene in particular where he goes into his trailer and he's screaming at himself in the mirror to stop drinking, and it's just absolutely hysterically funny. Yeah, DiCaprio, to me, his performance gets overshadowed by Brad Pitt, but to me, the two of them are just as good as each other in this movie. And Margot Robbie's fine. She doesn't have a lot to do in this other than show her feet. But again, fun movie. It's not my top Tarantino film, but it is. It's a lot of fun. Number 8, from Martin Scorsese again, Shutter Island. Co-starring Ben Kingsley, Max von Sydow, Mark Ruffalo. It's just another great cast. Michelle Williams, Patricia Clarkson. Just, yeah, great cast in this movie. And this is a great movie. From here on out, I love every one of these movies, including this one. Heartbreaking ending, you kind of see it coming, at least I did, but it doesn't matter. I've watched this movie multiple times, and again, DiCaprio gives a great performance in this film. Next is The Man in the Iron Mask, co-starring Jeremy Irons, John Malkovich, Gabriel Byrne, and Gerard Depardieu, among others. This is my favorite version of The Musketeer's Tale, directed by Russell Wallace. Or Randall Wallace, I'm sorry. This movie's fantastic. It really is. The story has been told many times through the years, different iterations. Like I said, this is my favorite version of the story, and it's mainly because of the cast. This cast is unbelievably good. But the MVP in this movie to me is Gerard Depardieu. He is absolutely hilarious in this movie. Love it, love it, love it. Next, The Revenant, co-starring Tom Hardy. This is the movie that DiCaprio won the Oscar for Best Actor. Rightfully so. Great performance, as is Tom Hardy in this movie. Directed by Alejandro Inarritu. And great survivalist movie. It's just an excellent film. This movie damn near killed both of these guys filming it, because they went out in the middle of nowhere. This is not a movie set on a soundstage. They went out in the elements and filmed this movie. He almost drowned twice. Fantastic movie. I absolutely love The Revenant. Okay, we are getting down to the creme de la creme now. Top 5. Number 5 is Sam Raimi's The Quick and the Dead, with a murderer's row cast of Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, Keith David, Lance Henriksen, Gary Sinise. It just goes on and on and on with this movie. And this movie's a blast. You're not going to get a huge story in this movie. It's a very simplistic plot. But my God, the cast is so great in this movie. The way that Sam Raimi shoots this movie is so much fun. And it's just an excellent movie. DiCaprio originally was not supposed to be in this movie. The studio did not want him. This was before Titanic. They wanted a hotter name in the role. And Sharon Stone, who was one of the producers on this movie, fought the studio and agreed to pay his salary out of her salary because she believed in him in this role. And to this day, every chance he gets, he mentions Sharon Stone and thanks for this. Because to him, this is the movie that got his foot in the door, got him noticed, and got him Titanic and other movies. He's great in this movie. Russell Crowe's great in this movie. Sharon Stone's great in this movie. Gene Hackman's awesome. If you've never seen The Quick and the Dead, please, by all means, check this movie out. So, number 5, The Quick and the Dead. Number 4, from Martin Scorsese again, The Wolf of Wall Street. Co-starring Jonah Hill, Margot Robbie, and I always forget his name. Kyle Chandler, who's great in this movie. And again, everybody's great in this movie. This is a movie that is almost 3 hours long, and it doesn't feel like it to me. It just flies by. It is so entertaining. To me, this is probably my favorite DiCaprio performance overall. I think he is so friggin' good in this movie. And this is definitely Jonah Hill's best performance. A lot of people don't like this movie, the misogyny involved and everything else, I don't care. This movie to me is just a roller coaster ride. It is so much fun. The scene where he is on Quaaludes is among the funniest things I've seen in a movie in the last 30 years. It's just that sequence alone makes this movie worth the price of admission. I love it, love it, love it. Number 3. From Martin Scorsese again, The Departed. Again, with a murderer's row supporting cast of Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, and the incredible Jack Nicholson. This is Nicholson's movie. Everybody's terrific in this movie. Everybody brings their A game to this movie. But Nicholson, this is definitely one of his best roles. He is just so much fun doing his Whitey Bulger impression. The only thing I don't like about this movie is the final shot. That friggin' rat just pisses me off every time I see it. Other than that, this movie's damn near a masterpiece. I love it. This is, of course, a remake of a Asian film called Infernal Affairs, which, again, terrific film. If you get a chance, track that movie down, watch it. It's great. I'm not going to compare the two, okay, because I love them both. But The Departed, fantastic movie. Number 2, and these two, I struggled. I literally sat here before this video started and stared at this for 10 minutes before I finally picked a number 2 and a number 1, because these two, to me, are just so close and so near and dear to my heart. But number 2 is Christopher Nolan's Inception, co-starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Elliot Page, Cillian Murphy, Ken Watanabe, Tom Hardy. Is great cast in this movie, and I love this movie. A lot of people have turned on this movie through the years. I don't. I think it's just a great movie, and watching this theatrically was just mind-blowing. I absolutely love Inception. There's my lenticular cover, and yeah, I can't say enough about this movie. Like I said, a lot of people have turned on it. Hey, whatever. To each his own. To me, this movie's great. It's one of the best science fiction movies of the 2000s, in my opinion. But number 1, again, by a hair, is Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, co-starring Jamie Foxx, Kerry Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, and in his Second consecutive Academy Award for Quentin Tarantino and Best Supporting Actor, Christoph Waltz, who is phenomenal in this movie. And again, everyone's phenomenal in this movie, including DiCaprio. There's a scene where he smashes a glass in his hand, cuts his hand, and that was real. That was not a fake thing. And he just stayed in character and continued the scene. That scene in the movie is real. He literally cut his hand and just stayed in character and kept going. And again, you've never seen DiCaprio play a character despicable like he does in this movie. He is truly a despicable human being, but not quite as despicable as Samuel L. Jackson doing his Uncle Ruckus impression from the Boondocks throughout this movie. Django, very divisive film like most of Quentin Tarantino's films. I absolutely love it. So, to recap this ranking of my ranking of my Leonardo DiCaprio films. Number 1 is Django Unchained. Number 2 is Inception. Number 3 is The Departed. Number 4 is The Wolf of Wall Street. Number 5 is The Quick and the Dead. Number 6 is The Revenant. Number 7 is The Man in the Iron Mask. Number 8 is Shutter Island. Number 9 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 10 is Blood Diamond. Number 11 is The Aviator. Number 12 is Gangs of New York. And number 13 is James Cameron's Titanic. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave comments below. Let me know what some of your DiCaprio films. I know a lot of you are going to say, hey, what about Catch Me If You Can with Tom Hanks? I love that movie. I do have that on DVD somewhere. I just couldn't find it. So that's why it's not included on this video. But anyways, I hope everybody's having a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one.